Hi, I'm Mahima Dayal, also known as Bavri Basanti, and I'm a musician.
Hi, I'm Malvika Manoj, also known as Mali, and I am a musician.
What's the first song you remember creating, and what was it about?
I wrote a song called No Place Like Home after I fought with my mom as a 16-year-old. And I said things like, I want to leave this house. I don't want to come back. I'm going to find my own way. And then I regretted it like exactly 3 hours later when I came home and wrote a song about it. It was very teary in the beginning. And I hate it now, but it was a good song back then.
You hate the song now.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to relate to your first song because it's very angsty and emotional and true to that emotion and time. But I did perform it for my mom on her 40th birthday a few days later, and that was the first time anyone in my family knew I could write music. And they all came up to me and they're like, "Is that your song? Did you write the lyrics and the melody?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did actually." Since then, I think I was addicted to the idea of taking a thought, making it a song, and performing it. And so began the endless cycle of songwriting.
Did you consciously come back home and you were like, "Ab main gana likhungi," or was it natural for you?
I came back home, and the apartment was sort of set up for writing in this weird way. Like the lights were all off, and it was a rainy day. There was wind blowing through the curtains, and the piano was right at the corner of the house. And for some reason, there's a light on top of the piano that's never on. And that day, only the piano light was on. It was like, ta-da! And it called to me. First thing I did was I opened the piano, I burst into tears, and then I wrote, and then I burst into tears again. And then I felt happy because the dopamine kicked in. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I kept the thoughts and the ideas very simple. I didn't overthink it, which I think we tend to do now.
Dude, I totally associate.
So yeah, what about you? What's your first
I
song?
was just exactly, I was imagining what happened because I don't have any memory. Like your memory was so vivid about the moment that you wrote it. I have no recollection. Like genuinely, like I don't remember. I wrote Chale Kahin, which is my first song, but I don't remember what I was doing when I wrote it, or was it a conscious moment in time? But like you have a vivid imagery of the moment.
Right.
I don't know what I was doing.
That's the only songwriting experience where I still remember how it happened and where it happened. Everything else has been a bit of a blur. Like right now, if I had to think back to the exact moment that I wrote any other song, saw one big blur because I remember so little about the actual writing part of it. You just go into that flow state and you're just there. And then you like snap back out of it and you're like, oh wow, there's a song.
So honestly, now, like since we've been doing this for a while, I figured what my process is, how I do it. But back then, like 2012 to 15, I don't know what I was doing, but it was happening organically. Like,
Yeah.
Like I was learning DAWs then and figuring out why I liked Ableton and a microphone,
Right.
what your tonality was. But it was never because I wanted to release a song.
You're doing it
was-
for the fun of it.
Yeah,
right?
it was just like, oh, I have this free equipment which my brother gave me.
It's like toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, YouTube was your best friend. So, what's your primary instrument when you have to write? How do you?
It's between the guitar and the keyboard. I play the keys better, but then I write more songs with the guitar. So that's
Interesting.
it. And I think I write differently with each instrument. What about you? Is it?
That's what I was. I don't know. Because every song I have a different way that it comes about. So some songs are just like me playing the keys and just singing very simple chords and trying different. I'm a vocal centric
Right.
person, I think. So yeah, I just keep like trying out different melodies, and if I'm feeling sad a certain day, then I'll just sustain a note and maybe try putting words that evoke that feeling slowly over time.
Makes sense. You retrofit the words to a melody sometimes.
You put it so well, yeah.
Thank you. But do you find it easier to write alone or with other people?
Dude, alone.
Alone?
Alone. Like, I don't let no one enters the room when I'm writing because I would be like, "Kaun hai?" And like, I'm very like weirdly scared when I'm in that state of mind because it's
Yeah.
very focus driven.
It's a very vulnerable place. to
Exactly.
be. Yeah.
Like you're pretty naked. So if somebody walks in,
That's exactly the word I use. Yeah.
so somebody walks in, they've seen like this really scary version of me. If you live with me, it's pretty hard. You're doing something and you can't take a break. And if someone asks you chai piyegi, I'm like, chai pee nahi yaar.
Yeah, it's also the worst when you're writing a song and someone comes into the room and they're like, "Oh, what are you writing a song?" Dude, no more writing. It's just over from that moment on.
My biggest trauma has been because since I've been a singer
Yeah.
for as long as I can remember, it's always like beta gao na, right? For me.
Yeah, yeah.
He sings something for us, and that has become something really weird as I've grown older.
Right.
Because when someone asks me to perform, something in me says, don't do it. Yet, in the industry that we are in, we have to be like this. Let's show the best potential we have everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes a toll on me because I'm not like, I don't want to show off my skill set like that.
That's true.
Always.
At once, it's like something that's so personal and also so public at the same time. And you have to be okay with doing music on such a personal level and also on such a public level and everything in between as well. And it's not always easy to switch gears like that. If it's a new song that you've written, for example, you know, the first time you perform it to someone, for me especially, I start shaking a little bit. and
Dude,
it's
I get like this
nerve-wracking.
weird
Yeah.
feeling of throwing up before every show. It's like the stored energy,
Yeah.
which kind of bursts out on stage the moment you start your first song. It goes
Correct.
away.
Yeah. Totally.
But before that, I have to go into the bathroom, look at myself, be like, breathe. I don't know. Because you're being so vulnerable.
And at the end of the show, you're like, let's go. You're just like,
Dude, that
filled
rash
with
is not
energy.
normal. it's,
You need a drink just to calm down.
it's like a sport, right? Like you're putting out so much. Every time you sing, even if it's for 3 people, you're just bearing your soul. And it takes a lot and you give a lot. But also, like, I want to finally come to this space in life where I can not just give, but also get
Right.
from performing.
Do you not feel like the audience dictates your performance as well? Like you mirror them?
Definitely.
But if you have an unenthusiastic audience, you're also like, "Pfft."
So it's been like an energy, like draining experience for you, like as a performer.
Yeah, like shows where I sense that the main focus is not the music, where it feels more like a social event, and which I mean it happens, to be honest, at every gig. It's not that you want people to just come in blinkers on, watch the performance, but some gigs are more that than the art. You know, you really feel like a box that's been checked on a list of things that they needed for the event. They're like, yeah, we need some music.
Can
so
you
let's just
stating facts for us? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we've all felt it, and
100%.
that is sometimes a bit of a pain because when you're on stage, you're just like, and you don't want to feel this way, but you really you're waiting for the performance to get over. And then there's a few people, then you kind of focus in on the few people who are really happy to watch you on stage and who are connecting with what you're doing, and you try and perform just to them.
For sure.
And that's how you get through a performance like that.
How do we come to a space wherein you can perform original music, not cover music, and also create like a conversational, interactive environment with the audience and the performer? Because right now I'm really finding it hard to constantly find venues that give me that feeling of having, performed with good sound, had a great audience.
I think it's usually like the relationship is this, like the smaller the audience, the more connect you have with each individual there. And the bigger the audience, the more sort of diluted that connection becomes. But it shouldn't be that way. Like I've been to gigs where it's a huge audience and everybody is connected and everybody is engaged. So I think that is possible. I think because music is often always just the afterthought. In a lot of venues, I'm not saying all, but very often you'll get called to perform in a bar and there's no stage really. It's just like they've cleared out 2 corner tables and they put like 2 wedges on the ground. They put like 1 spotlight on a stand and they're like, cool, stage, perform.
Yeah.
And how are you going to create that separation between the artist and the audience when there's no actual level separation? There's no... That's what you need for a performance to happen. I'm saying like even if it's something as simple as lights, something as simple as like an elevation, A lot of venues don't even think about that. It's so simple.
And mostly I feel like the lights are so bright, it shows. That's why I wear sunglasses at every show.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Every show, because
Nice.
I can also not get affected by exterior emotion and not show it on stage. Even if I'm affected by something happening in the audience or tech, or the sunglasses keep my emotion at bay from being shown on face. And the lighting, dude.
Yeah, strobes when you're singing a sad breakup song is not happening. So yeah, that kind of control and thought to a performance is rare. Which is why when I actually do see a performance where that is being given attention to, I hold on to it and I savor it a lot better. Okay. How do you combine the technical aspects of music production with the emotional expression in your work?
It's a killer question.
You say you started trying out music production very early, right? Playing with DAWs and learning on YouTube.
I started with wanting to capture my voice and doing it on my own. And now it's, of course, become a whole world of its own. And it's a good question because it does sometimes feel less tangible than an actual instrument, an analog thing would feel. But I do love it because I can be so free movement wise. I can travel, make music wherever I am. And as I'm learning more about synthesizers and how I can create a tone which is distinctly Bawri, and that's always been my thing. How do I create like a sound which is so me, emotionally and as a person? How do you translate that? So I'm still learning. It's a constant journey, but honestly, YouTube is my best friend.
Right on.
And when I'm feeling low, I watch tutorials, get inspired. I think honestly, just your bedroom, if treated even like well, and if you know your mic, it's a
True.
good place to start at least.
But do you ever get experimental with your choices because you know production? Or do you still try to keep the songwriting and the singing aspect very true to itself and you only enhance it with your technical knowledge?
No, I've been always been experimental with it. Because I don't think I have a genre or a style. I think it's just an emotion that I'm constantly trying to translate. So if I'm trying to create a certain vibe, because I feel that something, those lyrics or that melody is written for that
Right.
purpose, I'm very conscious of like of what I'm doing production wise,
Right.
and not overdoing it just because I can.
I have a very basic understanding of DAWs in production, which is enough for me to co-produce music with artists that I work with, producers that I work with. It takes me a lot longer to get an idea out with my current level of production. It's easier for me to give it to someone who's better at it and more adept and quick to help me carry forward that vision.
I do that when I feel like, okay, this is how much I know. Like I don't think I have the time or the mental space to learn and then implement. So I find people who might have produced in that space and collaborate. Or like, yeah, sometimes like some songs just need that like highly produced energy. So I go to producers, and now I'm really trying to become as self-reliant as possible.
Right.
But then you can tell if it's a Bawri produced song or if it's like sent to a mix engineer song. Because I'm trying to also like, because the sound changes, the moment the mix goes out, there will be incorporations of their aesthetic.
Yeah, sure. It's more of a collaborative effort. Right?
Pretty much. So, which is what I felt in my previous EP, Arzu, that a lot of it was such a collaboration that I felt like, hey, great producers. But if left up to me, how would I have made the song? Like,
I mean, it may not have been
As
like
well
you couldn't
mixed.
have made this song, but it would just been different. Some choices you're like, this is something I still resonate with, that initial idea, that initial sound.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. A wise man once said, the final version of the song is never the final version. It's always one little sort of milestone in the road of various versions. You know, like a song never ceases to be different. You can always make a new version of it.
For sure.
Just because the first released version is a certain way doesn't mean it cannot be made into a an acoustic version or a remix or a remaster or a reimagined version altogether.
And I think every song has its own journey. And in fact, every song of mine, I've taken at least like 5 years, 7 years to finish things I've written like, long back because it never feels like it's done. And even when it's done, you feel like it has another story to tell.
When someone asks me, what is this song about? It's hard to say, this is about this particular thing that happened. It's actually, to be honest, it's 10 different things that I'm drawing from, 10 different experiences that are even years old.
Yeah, and each
you draw
person who will
from.
hear it will have their own interpretation of what they felt from your track.
Which is the best
is
part
cool,
about
yeah.
it. There's one thing that I heard which was quite cool. It says the most creative is the most personal. Sometimes you try to reach for these very general, accessible ideas that everyone, you think that everyone resonates with, but actually the most accessible are the most personal thoughts because someone somewhere has felt some version of it.
Do you predetermine what you want to write about or you just write?
These days, I just write.
Hannah?
I just write, yeah. Like, I mean, sometimes the song will start with one line. I'm like, where is this going? And then it sort of just unravels. And then by the maybe second verse or something, I'll realize, oh, wait, this is what the song wants to be. And then I'll have a better idea by then. But in the beginning, it's actually just...
Yeah, sometimes I'll just write a hook, which means nothing, like just an emotion, and then suddenly a verse will. That's what, like, I don't know where it comes from. It just, like, I wrote this song called Uthi Draupadi, and I did not intend to be like, oh, Draupadi's back and she's angry. But it just happened, and I'm writing these lyrics about like she's alive again, and she's singing about now she has social media, and she wants to talk about being abused, and she wants to talk about having gone through extreme violence.
Interesting.
And I genuinely, I asked myself, are you doing this as a gimmick? Is it something that you want to use from mythology to get you numbers? Because it's pretty easy to like use a crutch. And it's really weird, man. Like even the next song I wrote was like this like jungle rhythm, which felt like she's in Vanvas and she's pissed off.
You're channeling something personal.
Maybe
Yeah.
I went through something which I couldn't express, so I'm using her energy to kind of...
Correct. You feel a sort of likeness
Huh.
in between her and you, yeah.
Was there a time when you felt like giving up?
Yeah, like last week.
Like every day.
I mean, I think it's important to constantly go through the cycle of like, am I doing the right thing? Yes, I am. Okay, but how am I going to do better? Oh, look at me, I'm doing well. And then going back on that cycle over and over again. At least you're not stagnant. If you're constantly feeling a certain way about this, you're not doing it right. I think you need to constantly feel the impermanence of everything for you to want to like fill in those gaps and do more. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I'm just thinking as to...
yeah.
Is there a solution to not feeling that anxiety constantly? Because I'm quite an anxious person. Even when I'm doing well, I will always keep questioning how it went down. Could I have done something better? Which is why giving up is not an option anymore. But what does giving up really mean, though? Like, what would we do what would you do if you gave up? Like,
That's true. We've dug ourselves deeper into the hole of being artists.
I don't do anything else. Like, I just
Yeah.
sing.
No, but I do feel like we've gotten better over the years at managing these emotions.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't happen anymore. It's that we know how to talk ourselves in and out of certain negative thinking loops. You know what I'm saying?
Also, every time I think of giving up, I feel better the next day, and I'm always like more charged the next day.
Yeah,
Because
you
the
come
previous
back
night
stronger.
was
Yeah, you do.
So the next day you're like, okay, I've done my bit of like tragedy queen stuff. Ab kaam karte hain. And then I'll find avenues of kind of countering the things which made me feel that way. So something or the other does come
Something
out.
or the other, there'll be a spark of some idea or something that's reconnected you to the excitement of being a musician.
Yeah.
Like I tend to think that a lot of us who've been in the music industry for a while, we think of what we do very surgically after a while. We're like, okay, this is the formula. Like coming back to when we were young and we were writing those early songs, the reason why they happen so quickly is you're thinking less about them. We're more free and more connected with the idea of playing with it That we're not so caught up in like, oh, is this going to work? How are people going to perceive this? How am I going to feel about it? What's the production going to be? Like, we're thinking too multi-dimensionally now
Yes.
about
that's so true.
something that's so simple. So to
Yeah,
connect to that
that's true.
simplicity again is where it's at, I feel.
I've built this divide in my brain, which is commercial work, Bhavri work.
Right.
So if I'm working for a client on a paid project with a timeline and deliverables, then I'm approaching it very differently. And when I'm working on my own project, yes, I'll have timelines. I will want the video, the visuals, or the marketing to be a certain way. But I don't overthink the process. And I don't the timeline doesn't come till the song is ready for mix. Only when it's ready for a mix will I be like, okay, let's plan the next half of the game. Not the creation part. I try not to touch it.
I feel you. I'm the same. I've also started to build these sort of walls between the commercial self and
Yeah.
the Mali self.
Otherwise, I get so attached to commercial projects that I'll never be able to actually just agree to any client.
My parents were, you can't say that they were like super supportive of me doing music, but at the same time, I can't say that they ever discouraging about it. They were somewhere in between. They were like, okay, you're doing this, but do you know what you're getting into? Okay, but have a fallback option. I mean, very classic parent things. I think I would probably say the same thing if I were a parent. But my mom told me this, and this is very interesting. She used to want to be a vet, but she didn't want to study medicine because it involved dissection and seeing blood and like getting your hands dirty in that way. And she could never see herself doing that. And she's a huge animal lover. She rescues animals, she fosters them. We have a ton of animals at home.
Nice.
And she said the one thing that prevented me from being a vet was I realized that to be a vet, you needed to be ruthless. You needed to have a sense of like, okay, I'm going to take emotions out of the equation. This animal needs to be put down. Or I need to inflict pain on this animal for it to get better. That kind of thinking was what she didn't have with animals. So she's like, you're going to be a musician as a career. It's very different than doing this as a hobby. Can you be ruthless with it? And I was like, shit. I'm going to sit and think about this. But then, yeah, I mean, over time, like you said, you have built this sort of differentiation between your commercial
I'm working on it.
self and your, So, yeah, I think now there are clearer lines and boundaries between the projects that you do for someone else's approval.
I feel like I am the center and there are like petals around me, which are different factions of projects or kinds of works that I do. So as a musician, I don't think just making music is the only thing we do. We're also performers, which is different from being a creator. We're also handling like a business, completely.
Yeah, completely.
As well as like I'm also teaching now. So I'm also working on the academia angle of it. And we're constantly learning. So how are we also upping our game by the side?
True.
So it's like a whole gamut of things we're working on, which is a lot.
It's a lot. We're so immersed in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes when you meet a non-musician or someone from the outside, they ask you questions like, so how do you make money through streaming?
I mean,
And you're just like, oh God, where do I begin? I just want to have a drink and
was that even
not get
like
into this.
the agenda in the first place? Like when I put my first song out,
Yeah.
I didn't know what streaming was. Like I didn't know that was a
Yeah.
thing to earn from. And even now, like I barely check my numbers. Yeah, like honestly, I try to not give a shit.
Right. Not be influenced by that.
Because the moment I start getting into that I will just compare and comparison for like comparing with
The right
people
things.
who I look up to is one thing, but numbers makes no sense to me personally.
Absolutely, yeah. Also, numbers this month and numbers 3 months from now can
Yeah,
be
because
completely
your
different.
radar of seeing where you're at
Yeah.
as an artist, that can't be it. I think the radar should be like how much are you growing every day as that form.
Right. And also impact. And impact is not measured in streaming numbers or followers or anything like that.
Or what someone said on social media about you. I mean, it's hard to ignore. But
We're living in a very interesting time now. I mean, like, you know how we always grew up thinking that art and business were like two completely different ends of the spectrum? Like, we're living in a time where the lines between the two are completely blurred. Like, we're all brand builders, we're all carrying our brands. Like, as sitting here right now, we're
Brand building.
brand building to some extent. I mean, it's weird that we have to constantly be conscious of how we come across, even if not actively, just like passively. What we say, how we present, what we're posting, what we're not posting.
I can't believe now I actually have like a time of the week on my planner which is just dedicated to social media.
Oh, you do
ideation.
have this. Okay, wow, that's envious. I don't
I
have
started doing it the last 2 months, 3 months only. I was like, hey, wait, your numbers are growing because of this.
Right.
You're getting work from this, but you're not investing in it. Because I come from like a very old school of thinking, which is like, if you do good work, you get more work. But it doesn't work like that. It's more like you show more work, you get more work. So I'm trying to show more now.
that. Right, yeah,
But that, again, another petal in the flower, then just...
true. What's one of the biggest misconceptions people have about being a musician?
That is all fun and games and we're having a great ball all the time.
We're not?
Are you?
I mean, not always, but yeah.
Initially it
it's
was
fun.
when I started and when I was learning and I was starting out, yes. But now it's become more like it's a job. It's a full-time job.
Sure.
I mean, parts of it, like my alone time with me, that is golden. Yes. But that is not what being a musician alone is anymore. There's so much to it. And yeah, I think it's like running a full-fledged business, which is what people don't really see mostly. What goes, and we're doing it DIY, right? There's so much stuff that we do ourselves, so that makes it like unseen.
There's so many different roles you have to play on a daily basis. You have to be your own PR agent, your own manager, the writer, the
I know
content,
taxes now, like
taxes, the financial planning of
a
it.
video director.
What people see is the tip of the iceberg, you wearing funny clothes on stage. Like coordinating band members and,
Dude, that is
organizers and all
one
that stuff.
massive
Yeah.
job.
Even with a manager, you still end up doing a lot of that.
I feel like even if we do a 15-minute show, the work on the back end, it's days and days of labor. And it just goes away in 15 minutes, like poof.
True.
So, and those 15 minutes look cool and like what fun she must be having on stage. Sure, I'm having fun because that's muscle memory now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of work to put in to make it look so.
Yep. If you could change one thing about the music industry, especially for independent artists, what would it be?
I think the infrastructure around what we do, for example, even if we want to put our music on radio, there's not very many takers for it because you have to be a big label artist. You have to have a serious budget behind you to push for that kind of PR. And very often, even if you do get your music on the radio, you have to sign off on an NOC, which basically
Yep.
means you get nothing
Nothing
from
out
the
of it.
streams. And
Done
even
that.
those shows are so few and far between. And they're really doing it as like almost like charity, like, oh, let's help indie artists. Shouldn't be the case because in every other country where we don't have this behemoth of Bollywood, the music that is made by independent artists is the music from the country. You turn on the radio, you're listening to artists from the country, actually written songs by them and produced songs, which is lacking a bit here. You know, there's this compartmentalization, like, oh, you are indie, so you're going to be put in this box. And then everything that's done to support you is only going to be based on you
That
being an
box.
indie artist.
Yes, and then
You're an indie artist before being an artist. You're a female artist before being an artist. You know,
what
like,
is indie artist anyway?
why can't you just be an artist?
Yeah, you're just an
Yeah.
artist. And this whole pigeonholing
Yeah.
of like this is your aesthetic, this is your vibe.
Whenever you listen to music, you're not going like, today I'm going to listen to indie music.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to support the indie scene by choosing what song. You're not thinking like that. You're like, I want to listen to a song that makes me feel a certain way. So the idea that there should be playlists even called indie this or indie that is wrong. They should be genre-wise. They should be mood-wise.
Yeah.
Like, we cannot live in these compartments anymore. And I think that's something I would really like to change.
I hear
It
you.
starts there.
I think what we're talking about let's just keep this going. You want to get out of here and get a drink?
Let's get a drink.